A very, very good evening to all of the dignitaries on the dais, all of the doctors here, as well as friends. I've been to many, many functions, but typically this is the first function where I'm speaking to a group of doctors, because normally I'm the one who's going for consultation, and so this is really, really a privilege for me. I think the title of today was very interesting when I saw it, Zindagi Rewind. So, and I think this is true. This has been rewind, fast forward. Everything has happened in the last 1 year. I think all of us, if we go back to early March of last year, we were all going about our lives in our normal manner. And how much has changed in a little over the year? Let me first start with talking about the positives. I think what has been very positive is that Pune city has come together like never before. And I think this is exemplified by all of you who are in this room today, who are of course the real heroes of the last 1 year. I have to confess that my knowledge of the medical community, and even I had some friends who were doctors, but this was very, very limited till a year ago. But what I have realized in the last 1 year, because of the very, very close interaction that we have had with over 200 hospitals and many, many of you on an individual basis, is the absolutely amazing work all of you have done. And I think the country, the nation, the world really, really, I think that there is a very special debt of gratitude that all of us owe to all of you. And I think the most important thing that we have all realized as a nation is what is important. There used to be the heroes, and all of us in India, the heroes always start with Bollywood. This is the first one. After Bollywood, it is always sports. And as they say, these are the two things, and politics, of course, is a distraction. But the first two are things that keep us going. But I think for every citizen of the country, during the last year, we've realized who our real heroes are. And they're all of you who are sitting here in this room today. I don't want to talk for a long time about the activities of our group, because I think you will be familiar with that. But we came together in March of last year. And I think during the last year, whatever we've been able to accomplish is because of the amazing, amazing work of many of you who are in the room today. Many instances where I think all of you came forward to ensure that Pune was safe. I think one of the initial challenges we had as a city was we always assumed that the government hospitals could take care of this pandemic. It took us a long time even to convince the local administration that it is not just the government hospitals, but that it is ultimately a combination of government, private. Everybody will need to come together to sort out this pandemic. And I think, especially for the city of Pune, where almost 80% of the patients have been treated by private hospitals, just goes to show the importance of these private hospitals as part of our ecosystem. Secondly, I think the most important thing that we realized is how much we can do together. And there's a favorite word I have in Hindi. I don't know the English direct translation, but it is really samvad. And I think it is only through samvad that we are able to accomplish so much. I mean, we always are typically dependent on the government to solve these things, and whenever something happens, we look at the government and say, government kya karne wali hai? But I think this was one instant where civil society said, hum kya kar sakte hain? In most of the many of the initiatives, Dr. Bande is here, we've had many discussions. I think he by himself was able to convince over 20 hospitals, I think, to start taking COVID patients, which was no mean feat in the initial days when people did not, everybody was scared of COVID, nobody knew what was happening. I think it was only because of efforts of outstanding doctors, and most importantly human beings such as him, that ensured that we were able to have adequate coverage, especially in rural areas where initially there was a lot of fear of COVID, a lot of concern of COVID. And I remember many nights where we would be talking at very late in the evening. He would be talking to all of these doctors, and I think it was only because of associations like this, the connection that all of you have together, which is ultimately the camaraderie, the connection as personal human connections, which enabled him and many others like him to convince all of you to come forward to fight this pandemic. Now, where are we? I think we are at a very important stage where all of us thought that the worst is over. We all relaxed for a little while. It was like the break in the match. And then we thought we could go back to our daily lives. But what is now very clear is this pandemic is here to stay. Clearly, there will be peaks and valleys. I don't even want to attempt to be in a group of doctors and try to prophesize what will happen in the next few months. All of you will know much more than me. But the fact is that this is something which we will all have to learn to live with. And the last months have been where the cases of COVID, especially in and around the Pune area, had gone down. But during the last 10 days, we are all seeing daily with great worry, especially in all our groups, that every day the cases are going up. Couple of important things I want to say here. I think probably all of us have much more power than we think we have. And I think collectively, if we use that for positive influence, we can make a lot of. All of you are the people who are really the opinion makers in the city. You are the people that people turn to for advice, to listen. And I think it's extremely, extremely important that together we do a couple of things. One is, to a great extent, and this may not be very popular, we have to stop depending on the government for doing a lot of things. I think we have to, the awareness factor, whether it is awareness of COVID, appropriate behavior, whether it is to get people to follow certain basic norms, I think the doctors can play a very, very important role. And my sincere request to all of you would be that I think we need to make it happen. It's our city, it's our community. We need to see together what we can do collectively to make this happen. The second is positive pressure for change. And by that I mean rapid vaccination of the Pune city. During the last few days, this has been a topic of intense discussion, that why we are a city which is home to the maximum innovation, and of course also home to the city which is producing the maximum number of vaccines in the world. And on the other hand, we are vaccinating only a few thousand every day. So our request as a group has been to the government, and we have been making this request at all levels, right from the central, state and local levels, that do allow Pune to vaccinate quickly. We made a calculation within our group. We made that all of Pune city can be vaccinated within a period of 1 to 1.5 months. I think all of you have the capacity to be able to make this happen. The business community in Pune is ready to come forward to support financially if this needs to be done. The government will support part of this, whatever else needs to be done. This is something which can be done through public-private partnership. And before there is a risk of a second wave, we have been requesting the government that please do allow, because typically 5% of deaths all over India are coming from the greater Pune district. If you look at the figures, average deaths are about maybe 100, 110. And out of that, between 5 to 8 are typically happening in Pune for the last 1 week figures. I'm giving you just the last week statistics. So to that extent, it is something that we can make it happen. And I think we all need to raise our voices for this positive change. What are we asking for? We are simply saying that vaccines are available in Pune. They are being produced in Pune. There is no logistics issue. They are available in sufficient quantities. The public-private hospitals have the capacity to make it happen. And this can be done in a manner which can, the complete vaccination program for all those, of course, following the same kind of protocols where we first start with the elderly with comorbidities, then go to the next above 60, then go to the 50, then whoever else wants to take the vaccine should be available. So I think this is something we all need to push for, and this is something we all need to propagate. I think if we make enough noise about it, if we keep talking about it, if we keep discussing it, something will happen. Sometimes in India, one of the things we realize is, and again, I don't want to offend anybody from any political party or anybody from the government, because they have been extremely, extremely helpful to us. But the fact is, sometimes these things are like a rock. You keep breaking at that rock, and if you do 1,000 times, then sometimes it breaks into small pieces. And this is what we realized during our last 1 year, whether it was getting ventilators into Pune. Out of the 600 ventilators in Pune, about 250 ventilators came through the efforts of PPCR. So, and I think this is what we realized, that collectively as a group we could do a lot. During the peak of the pandemic, actually we were able to contact the Prime Minister's office, we were able to contact the ministers, and one thing we realized, if you are doing something for the good of society at large, you should have no sharam. So one of the things I have become during the last 1 year is, I would say, completely besharam. I don't mind talking to anybody for help, because if that help is required for the city of Pune, we should be happy to ask for it. And normally, in 99% of cases, people respond in a very positive manner, because they do realize it's something which is very much needed, because we need to get the economy back to normal. COVID is not the only challenge we have in our country. Even on a health issue, there are so many health challenges which need to be sorted out. So I think it's extremely, extremely important that we get back to the new normal, so that all of you can go back to focusing on your normal clinical procedures, clinical routines. And I think this is something which can happen in Pune in a space of less than 2 months. So I don't want to make a long speech here, because I know we have somebody who's going to be talking about very, very interesting topics, and I'm eager to look forward to hear them speak. But what I would like to say again is, all of you are the real heroes who really made sure that Pune city was protected. We will always be grateful to you for your efforts, and hopefully the pandemic will not come back in the manner that it had come back. But in the unfortunate situation that it does, I think all of us will be required to come back together, act as a community, act as a group, not just depend on the government, but to see that together we can make a difference, because ultimately it's our community, it's our city, it's where we live, where we want to make it better, and I think together we can do a lot of this without just depending on the government. So thank you again for all the wonderful work that you've done. You are really the genuine heroes. I've seen the enormous work that all the frontline workers have done, right from the people who are in the ambulances, to the nurses, to the doctors, and I think it's only because of you that Pune has been protected. Even if we look by all global characteristics, I think the initial stages, the initial few months, there was a lot of confusion and people did not know clinical procedures and things like this. But if we look at the data, and again, I'm not a doctor, but because of the fact that we are working with a lot of the software and all of the other things which are supporting the data, we find that the clinical support that all of you have given has dramatically improved. And because of this, many people who otherwise would have been far more serious have come out of this whole pandemic. So thank you again for your efforts. Please do continue them. Please do continue to be the voice of positive change. I think if few hundred of the people who matter in Pune, and all of you are included in that list, start saying that we need to get vaccination happening fast, we all raise our voices for it, I think it will happen. Because what we are asking for is nothing special. We have the capacity in Pune to make it happen. All of you have the delivery mechanisms to make it happen. Within a period of 2 months, we can go to a situation where most of Pune city is protected. So thank you again for this opportunity, and thank you for all the efforts.